again, friends. Are you also feeling overwhelmed by too many AI news? We've curated the biggest headlines this week, in case you only have a few minutes to catch up. The week Anthropic sued the Pentagon and launched a research institute in the same breath. Meta's next-gen model flopped before it shipped. 9 of 11 xAI co-founders were gone, and 2 rival labs each raised $1 billion to build world models. Now let's get into the details. Anthropic had the most consequential week of any AI company in 2026 so far. 3 major moves in 4 days that together redraw the company's position in the industry. First, the lawsuit. On March 9th, Anthropic filed 2 federal lawsuits against the Department of Defense, challenging the supply chain risk designation that Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth imposed after the company refused to grant unrestricted military access to Claude. In a 48-page filing in the Northern District of California, Anthropic argued the designation is unprecedented and unlawful, retaliation for protected speech, not a legitimate security finding. The supply chain risk label, normally reserved for firms tied to foreign adversaries, blocks Anthropic from doing business with any Pentagon contractor. The first court hearing is set for March 24th. Second, the Institute. 2 days later, Anthropic launched the Anthropic Institute, a dedicated research arm led by co-founder Jack Clark. The Institute merges 3 existing teams, Frontier Red Team, Societal Impacts, and Economic Research, into an interdisciplinary group of ML engineers, economists, and social scientists. Anthropic is also opening a DC policy office this spring. Third, the Partner Network. On March 12th, Anthropic committed $100 million to launch the Claude Partner Network, free to join, with funds going to training, sales enablement, and co-marketing for organizations deploying Claude in enterprises. The company is scaling its partner-facing team 5-fold and introduced the Claude Certified Architect credential for solution architects. More than 25% of the Fortune 500 are already using Promptfoo, now OpenAI's. More on that below. So the partner play is clearly aimed at locking in the enterprise channel before competitors do. Meta delayed the launch of its next-generation AI model, codenamed Avocado, pushing it from March to at least May after internal testing revealed it underperforms the competition. The numbers are embarrassing for a company spending $115 to $135 billion on AI infrastructure this year. Avocado performs between Google's Gemini 2.5 and Gemini 3.0, meaning it trails both Gemini 3.0 and Anthropic's Claude on logical reasoning, coding, and writing tasks. That's not frontier, that's last quarter. The most telling detail, Meta's leadership discussed temporarily licensing Google's Gemini to power certain Meta products while Avocado catches up. The company that open-sourced Llama as a competitive weapon against closed model providers is now considering renting a rival's model to fill the gap. Meta has aggressively poached talent across the industry, reportedly spending billions on researcher salaries. But the Avocado delay suggests that hiring alone doesn't produce frontier models. Training infrastructure, data quality, and institutional knowledge matter at least as much as headcount. The slow-motion collapse at xAI accelerated this week. 9 of the company's 11 original co-founders have now departed, with 6 leaving since January alone. Toby Pollan, Jimmy Ba, Tony Wu, Greg Yang, Zhiheng Dai, and Guodong Zhang. Only Manuel Croix and Ross Nordine remain from the founding team. Musk's public response was characteristically blunt. xAI was not built right first time around, so is being rebuilt from the foundations up. He ordered sweeping layoffs focused on the coding division after expressing frustration with Grok's inability to compete with Claude Code and OpenAI Codex. The rebuild strategy: poach from the company that's winning. xAI hired Andrew Milich and Jason Ginsberg from Cursor, the AI coding startup that hit $2 billion in annualized revenue. Both report directly to Musk, with a mandate to rebuild Grok's coding capabilities from scratch. This follows Musk's prediction from an all-hands meeting 2 weeks ago that AI will bypass traditional coding entirely by the end of 2026. The irony is hard to miss. The man betting that coding is dead is spending aggressively to build a coding product. The world model space just became a two-horse race between two of the most influential figures in computer vision. AMI Labs, founded by Turing Award winner Yann LeCun after leaving Meta, raised $1.03 billion at a $3.5 billion pre-money valuation, the largest seed round in European startup history. The round drew heavyweight backers: Bezos Expeditions, Eric Schmidt, Mark Cuban, and Xavier Niel, alongside institutional funds. The leadership team includes former Meta VP Laurent Solly as COO and researcher Saining Xie as Chief Science Officer. AMI's thesis is that LLMs are fundamentally the wrong architecture for understanding physical reality. LeCun has argued for years that autoregressive text prediction cannot produce genuine world understanding. AMI is building on his Joint Embedding Predictive Architecture, JEPA, targeting industrial, robotic, and healthcare applications where hallucinating physical outcomes has real consequences. World Labs, founded by Fei-Fei Li, the Stanford professor who created ImageNet, raised $1 billion in February, including a $200 million strategic investment from Autodesk at a reported $5 billion valuation. World Labs shipped Marble, its generative world model product, in November, already producing persistent 3D environments from text, images, and video. The contrast is instructive. AMI is research first, build the right architecture, JEPA, then find applications. World Labs is product first, ship a world model into creative workflows, Autodesk integration, then deepen the research. Both have $1 billion, legendary founders, and a conviction that the next frontier of AI isn't language, it's physics. OpenAI acquired Promptfoo, the open-source AI security platform used by over 350,000 developers and 25% of the Fortune 500, on March 9th. Promptfoo specializes in red teaming and vulnerability detection for AI systems during development, exactly the kind of tooling that becomes critical as AI agents take autonomous actions in production. The technology will be integrated into OpenAI Frontier, the company's platform for building agentic AI workflows. The acquisition is relatively small. Promptfoo was valued at $86 million after its Series A, but the signal is significant. As agents gain the ability to execute code, make API calls, and take real-world actions, the attack surface expands dramatically. OpenAI is betting that security tooling needs to be built into the development platform, not bolted on after deployment. Promptfoo's team confirmed the product will remain open source. LTX 2.3 from Lightrix is a 22 billion parameter diffusion transformer that generates synchronized video and audio in a single pass, native 4K at 50 frames per second, up to 20 seconds per clip, with portrait mode support at 1080 by 1920. The rebuilt VAE delivers sharper textures and edge detail. A new gated attention text connector improves prompt adherence, and the companion desktop editor runs the entire model locally on consumer hardware. This is production-grade video generation running on your laptop. Helios, a 14B autoregressive diffusion model from Peking University, ByteDance, and Canva, takes a different approach. Real-time generation, it produces video at 19.5 frames per second on a single H100, supports text-to-video, image-to-video, and video-to-video workflows, and handles clips up to 60 seconds, released under Apache 2.0. Also notable, Hunyuan Video WorldPlay from Tencent released its RL post-training code on March 8th, enabling community training of interactive world models that run at 24 frames per second, a direct bridge between video generation and the world model's work, which we will also cover in later weeks. That's all for this week, friends. May you have a great week ahead. Cheers from the artificial team.